Welcome to Take It from the Ironwoman. My name is Susanne Müller, your host and the Ironwoman. This podcast is about empowering yourself and others to make real changes in the world. You will hear from everyday, smart, sophisticated, hip people like you and me. Not everybody has to be an Ironwoman to impress the world. Together, we will learn from the sports and business leaders how you can become a more successful person as an entrepreneur or a leader. It's one step at a time, one day at a time. Take your steps now. Take your big steps now. Join me on this journey to success. Take it from the Ironwoman. We finally have the honor to meet Poncho because I have been asking Poncho for at least a year, if not longer. So finally it's here. So I'm super excited. Poncho and I, we got to know each other. Now I want to say almost 10 years ago, probably.
Yes.
Has it been 10 years? Poncho, introduce yourself. I want to say first, it has always been a pleasure to work with you, but now to have you as a guest on my podcast is even a bigger honor. But who is Poncho? And then we dig in.
Thank you, Suzanne, for the invitation, and thank you for insisting. And I'm very happy that we're finally here doing the podcast. My name is Poncho Cottier, in case some of your listeners are wondering about this strange name. I'm originally from Mexico. Poncho is actually my nickname that I've been called since I was a child. And I also have French ancestry, hence my last name, Cottier, which is French. I was born and raised in Mexico. At an early age, I was very interested in people and what makes us human and helping others. I had that natural inkling since the beginning. And then I started my career in the corporate world in Mexico. Very early, I got disillusioned or not interested with that world. At 23, I left that world very early. For some people, that happens later in life. At 23, just a couple of years into my corporate career, I decided to move from Mexico to Paris with the dream to become a photographer and do something more creative. I lived in Paris for a few months, and then I lived in London for many years, where I then eventually trained in coaching. I did go back to the corporate world for a while. Then I worked in film. Finally, I came to Asia. So I'm living in Thailand for the last 15 years. For more than that time, I've been in this world of coaching and leadership development. At some point, I was also a yoga and meditation teacher.
I'm sure everybody who's listening is like Mexico, Paris, London, Asia. Sounds like such a glamorous life. And Cottier, you have to materialize with your name.
There's like a side of it that sounds very exciting. And this might be useful also to share. Like there were moments in my life, and this is in the about page on my website. There were moments in my life when I was also thinking, where is my life going? What about all these like transitions from one country to the other and one career to the next, and doing like corporate, more mainstream, and then doing something creative, and then doing something more spiritual, and then coaching. And I only got the answer recently. In the last decade, I realized that I had to go through all of those, or I got to go through all of those changes to integrate what it's like to feel that, what I call dissonance, when we're doing something that doesn't feel aligned with ourselves, and the courage that it takes and the tension that it creates when you shift into something else. I often come into my own experience when some of my clients are going through this self-questioning and challenges to help them.
What I would like to add is we all need to go through those steps. These are stepping stones to get to where we want to go. Yeah. And sometimes also through an experience that might not be so positive, we learn so much that we can take with us, maybe as a leadership style, and we're like, oh, no, I don't want to be like that person. We become more conscious of this is who I want to be. This is not what I want to be. That's so important.
Yeah. I use this with my clients. Feels like a pendulum, where we might be more on one side, one extreme, and then we need to make a change. Or for me, it certainly was the case. I was in one side, and then I made an extreme change to take me to the other. And then in those oscillations back and forward, eventually I found this place in the middle where I end up, in answer to your question, I mostly work with leaders. Many of them were in the corporate world, or founders, or people who have their own businesses, people who are ambitious, but also often highly sensitive or empathic. And they struggle to find the balance between their sensitivity and being empathic within their roles, with their teams, but also being effective and causing the results. So I help them find in those oscillations, find the place in the middle that feels nurturing for them, for their businesses or their teams.
That's exactly where the coaching should be. So people can open up and feel comfortable. You're creating a safe space for them. They can also learn from that pendulum, those extremes, and be more grounded.
Yeah.
We're at the beginning of the year. You have a very cool initiative, I call that, going, where you look back and then look forward. So tell us a little more about that. Maybe now is the time to reflect a little more. Was that your intention?
Yeah, for a long time now, I've had like a seed or an inspiration to be able to reach more people than the ones that I can meet one-on-one in my coaching. For now, I only offer coaching one-on-one. I thrive and I love that deep work, that emotional, going to the core and understanding purpose and the things that make people tick, and also the blockages that get in the way. And I feel very comfortable helping people go through that journey. Even when it's negative, it's almost like I feel very, what's the word? Excited. It sounds strange, but capable or excited to help people in that exploration, maybe through my own journey. And for a while, I've had this longing to be able to impact more people, but I also have a limited amount of sessions that I do on a one-on-one basis. So I realized that's a limitation that even if I did more and more sessions, at some point, there's going to be a limitation. I wanted to use the medium of writing first to inspire other people. And as the year came to an end, and now we're at the beginning of the year, I thought of the idea of a look back to the year that has just finished, and a look forward at the year that is just beginning. And this came from a retreat that I used to do with a dear, dear friend of mine here in the north of Thailand, where I live. I live in a place called Chiang Mai, just about 45 minutes, an hour north. There's a national park where there's a lake, where there's a floating platform where we used to do this retreat. So you need to take a bus and then you go to the pier and then you take the boat. And then 20 minutes later, you're in this floating platform in the middle of the lake, surrounded by mountains. And it's beautiful weather, especially at that time of the year. We used to normally start it on the 28th of December and then finish on the 2nd of January. And the first half of that retreat was a look back at the year that's coming to an end, in which we're looking at the celebrations, the gifts that the year brought, and our achievements, which what I've seen in that retreat, but also when I use this process with my clients, that it's so easy to forget what we've done. Most of us just tick it off, forget about it, and move on to the next thing. So it's a really healthy process, and I'm using that word consciously. It's healthy to consciously look back at what we've achieved and actually check the facts of how far we've come and how much we've grown. So that was part of it. But the other part was also looking at the challenges.
Hold on here. So then let's look back at 2024. What did you achieve and what are you proud of?
Oh, thank you. One of the things I'm really proud of is the work that I've been doing with my private clients. This is the year that I got even more clarity on the work that this might sound strange or it might sound spiritual, but the world that feels to me that I came to this earth to do, which is not just more the external or the results part of coaching, but also the deeper, the work that's more aligned with purpose or mission, or what are we here to do in the world, one way or another. With my clients, even if they initially come with an intention to be better leaders for their team, for example, it only takes sometimes a session or a couple of sessions to go much deeper on that rabbit hole. One of the achievements that I'm proud of is that I took time to understand that in detail, and then to also be able to communicate it. And when we get clarity, also things shift, right, energetically. I've been working this year with incredible clients and leaders who do very positive work in the world by also helping them look deeper at their own purpose and intention. Yeah.
And you mentioned before, when you were looking for that word, what it is that you do very well, you are not afraid to go deeper. When you said it almost sounds positive, so you're not afraid to go deeper and taking that time. Sometimes as a coach, we can go, let's go fast. No, actually it's the opposite. Let's go slower. Let's go deeper. Yeah. And this is when the good stuff is happening.
Yeah. And I don't know if you have this perception right now, but even as you speak, I notice our energy in the call gets deeper. It's like we're at a different level. And I find a lot of beauty in that depth, which for me brings complexity, is the depth of our longing and our desires and our dreams and maybe our life purpose, but also our painful experiences, our blockages, our trauma, the things that make us pull back. I feel quite comfortable on both sides. So what just happened on the call right now reminds me of what often happens in my sessions, especially one-on-one. And it used to happen on retreat as well, in a group session, where someone says something and there's a shift in the energy. For me, I normally feel it like in my arms, or I feel it down my spine. I feel a physical reaction of, oh, something has shifted. And I'll name it. Over the years, I get very comfortable saying things like, I just sense some sadness there. Am I picking this correctly? And then if the person's ready and willing and is part of the process, then we'll go there quite quickly. And for me, it's in embracing that, I don't like to call it dark, but in embrace that side that feels uncomfortable or is more complex. When we can integrate it, then the other side also comes in a way that feels much more authentic. Right? This is what I do integrative coaching, because the process that I love helping people towards is looking at these places where there's complexity. And most of us tend to alienate the parts that we don't like, and we hope they weren't there. What I've realized in my own life is that the process is around actually welcoming them and integrating them. That's one of the things that I celebrate from this year.
Congratulations. And now it's 2025. So what are you looking forward or towards, or what is the word that you're using for 2025 then?
So it's interesting, it's the start of the year and I'm still playing with my word. I have a few contenders. So my word for last year was freedom. And maybe just to go back to last year for a moment, I was reflecting this at the end of last year on how that freedom got expressed a lot in my work, in my clients. And this is why I choose a word of the year at the beginning of the year and then reflect on it at the end. The contenders that I'm playing with for 2025 have to do more with self-expression or contribution, or there's something about the power of voice and how we can inspire each other and support. And I haven't yet narrowed it down to that exact word, but I know we're going to talk a little bit about this, wrapping the year from last year. And then I have this process and I'm also taking myself through that process. So I'll narrow it down to the final word. And
to add to the conversation I had in 2024 is like, let go, let come. I was thinking of the word conquer, but conquer sounds so much, so what can I say? So direct and pushy. I need to find a smoother way of conquering. So I need to look up. And I also think this is actually a cool process. If you are looking for a word for the year, that you look at that word and do some research. What does that conquer mean? What is it for you, 2025?
Yeah. Actually, right before you said the word conquer, I realized that one of the other contenders that I have for myself is the word power. In my case, is the power around self-expression and contribution. And I wonder if the word power also has that element of conquering for you without maybe the forcefulness, because we can be powerful in ways that are not necessarily forceful, but it's around self-expression and contribution through my writing, and eventually I'll do in other ways, but also in a powerful way, connecting with our inner power.
You mentioned intention. Maybe that intentionality is with the power and the conquer. Well, I thought that conquer can also be conquer myself, conquer my fears. You could look inside and outside.
I know many people who have had this practice of the word of the year for a long time, but we don't also need to limit ourselves to just one word. Sometimes just adding something before can make it. Like the word intention also resonates with me, and I thought of aligned intention.
When you talk about looking back to 2024 and looking forward to 2025, what I sometimes feel is by May, June, July, I'm asking people, what is your intention? What some people try to do the New Year's resolution. Do you also have an intention of mid-year checking in? Now, this sounds very corporate, but I feel like sometimes in the summer, people are going to the beach and I don't have time to think. This is actually a good time to go back to the intention. Or what is your thought on that?
Yeah, this is great. So what works for me, and I know this also sounds a bit corporate or overly structured, but it's quarterly check-ins. And it's something that I've considered whether I should offer that as part of my newsletter, for example, because with the newsletter that I did, part of the process was the word of the year. And then next year, there'll be a check-in for that. But I was wondering if I should also, like on a quarterly basis, come back and just, how are you with that intention? I'll offer that to my subscribers, that if you want a reminder every quarter of your word of the year and your intentions and the practices that your areas of focus.
That's a cool idea, because in the corporate world, now we have to go back to the corporate world. We talk about Q1, 2, 3, 4. Why not check in with us? And what I see with a lot of my clients, whatever is on the calendar gets done. But for yourself, you don't take that time, or you don't put yourself on your calendar. So I'm always a little worried when people reach their results, but in a way their inner results or intentions are not really met. How do you attack or conquer that for the others?
Absolutely. This is the beauty of the work that we do in coaching, also when it's deeper, that it's somewhere in the middle between the inner work, but we also have all these strategies to create structure. So I agree with what you said. Sometimes I have a client that I've been working on for a few months, almost a year now. And it happens organically. We do one session where we do more of the deep work and we talk about some of the different parts. And then we do other sessions where it's about managing his calendar. And it's like the pendulum that I mentioned before, because with the managing of the calendar, he's finding ways to do his practices. And with the checking in, he's getting better at being more on top of his life. So for me, a lot of the work that I do is in the middle of the opposites. This is something that I know you and I have talked about before. It comes from dialectical behavior therapy, where the idea is that you can have two seemingly opposing ideas that both can be true and coexist at the same time. And when we opened it, I don't say it like it's true, it's just a stance to take that both extremes or both ideas or both perceptions can be true at the same time. And then that just brings mental flexibility that allows people the space to then find a place in the middle, right?
What do you do when you don't work? I know we as coaches, we are passionate about our work, but how do you rejuvenate and recharge your batteries?
Yeah. So this is partly, maybe it's a cheating answer because it's partly related to my work, but I only do client calls 3 times a week. So I only see clients on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And then I save Mondays and Fridays for creative work. So this is when I'll do my writing for my blog and my newsletter. And I find that work even though it's related to my work, I find it very, very enriching, because after all these career changes and moving countries I found something that, I know it sounds quite cliche, but it doesn't feel like work. It is my work. To me, it's also my mission. It's my life's mission to do this. So, but to give you the answer, when I'm not cheating, we have a little cottage in a place north of Chiang Mai. So it's in the north of Thailand as well, about 3 hours in the mountains. And I like to come here, be in nature. I really like that a lot, spending time in nature. That helps me recharge my energy. And there's some hot springs nearby as well. So especially in the winter time in Thailand, because it's never like Europe. It gets a little bit cooler and then doing hot springs. And then the last 2 things that give me a lot of energy at the moment for the last maybe half a year is nutrition. I started working with someone and that's giving me a lot of energy, and it's becoming this beautiful positive cycle, nutrition and working out. I'm on week 15 streak of having been to the gym 4 times per week. And I just notice it, not only physically with nutrition and in my body, but I notice it especially with mental health, with emotional health, and with alignment to purpose. So those 3 things, well, nutrition and health in general, then the writing and nature would be the 3 that I would pick.
I love those 3 things too. And this is actually the key to healthy living and happy living. And we wish you all the best for 2025 with great intentions. And hopefully we can meet.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you for your time.
What are you taking away from this conversation? What are you proud of that you completed in 2024? What are you looking forward to doing or being in 2025? Take it from the Ironwoman. We have episodes every Monday. Come and join us, learn with others, learn from others with their expertise. And also Take It From the Ironwoman is the book Global Business Coaching with Sports Parallels. Download it or get it in your local bookstore. See you next time. Happy to have you. Like us, write a review on your preferred podcasting platform. Bye-bye.